Over the years, mechs have become like a staple of Ninjago. They're just a really cool concept that LEGO has tried a lot throughout the years. And today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 Ninjago mechs. Starting off with number 10, we have the Samurai X mech. I don't have much to say about this one because it is on the smaller side. I mean, look, this mech is just a classic and I couldn't not put it on this list. Even nearly 12 years later, it still holds up pretty well. That's because it serves its purpose really well and it's iconic, which is also why it's on this list. Continuing down the list with number 9, we have an insane play feature. This time it's the Ultra Combo mech. This mech is absolutely gigantic and has a unique look to it, mixing 4 colors for its color scheme. However, what really makes this mech shine is the transformation feature. You see, this big mech can be split apart into 4 tinier vehicles. Now, these vehicles aren't great, but the transformation feature is super cool, and it works really smoothly. Overall, a really great toy for children, and I hope we get another mech like this in the future. Next, at number 8, we have Kai's Elemental Fire Mech from Dragon's Rising Season 2. This one is a really small one, but I absolutely love it. This mech, I feel, is the perfect combination between bulky and sleek. It's large enough to actually have a presence, but it has a tech feel to it that most Ninjago mechs have. I think that this mech also has so much posability being a really small mech. Like, fiddle around with this guy long enough and you can pretty much get him into any pose you want. No odd angles on this guy. Overall, a solid number 8. Number 7 is another Kai mech, this time Kai's Climber mech. This one is a super sleek mech. It's thin and it looks more like a robot than any of these other mechs. It's thin in areas, but I think that adds to the look and makes it unique. This guy's ankle rotation, which is something we'll see later on, but we haven't seen before. And you can pose this guy fairly well because of how light he is, which transitions into the play feature. Genuinely, this guy is one of the most creative play features that I've seen on a mech. You can actually pick this mech up and hang it by the 2 hooks on its back. Overall, a really nice number 7. For number 6, we have the Firestone mech. This is where we really start getting into the really good mechs. For starters, this mech is huge, over 900 pieces, and the bulky rocky texture of it really differentiates it for me, as usually the mechs we get are smooth and mechanical. The head print is nice, but what really sells for me is the general build of this thing. It just looks so unique. There is one significant problem, however, which you'll see coming up too, is that the mech doesn't have knees. Now, this set was released like 4 years ago, and they just didn't have the pieces to keep this mech stable with knees. But I think that without the knees, this mech's posability is severely limited to basically just the hands. Speaking of no knees, at number 5 we have Lloyd's Titan mech. Now, this set is really special because it was the first Ninjago mech at this scale, and mostly because of this set we got other large mechs like the Firestone mech and some others that we'll see down the list. My thoughts on this guy are overall pretty positive. The color scheme and the smooth texture on this mech is really nice. This guy just reminds me of a Transformer, I don't know why. But overall really good looking mech. Again, no knees, which does limit the posability, but this time the mech has a flyer on the back of the set, which adds some extra play. Definitely a top 5 mech. In 2021, for the 10-year anniversary of Ninjago, the designers went all out and created our number 4 Zane's Titan mech. This was the third mech at this scale, but it was the best by far for one reason and one reason only. It had knees. Yup, this thing can actually bend its knees using some ball joints. That just opens up so many options for play and display. It's genuinely fantastic. But getting ahead of myself here, what about the rest of the mech? Well, it's pretty solid. The color scheme isn't too original, and I don't really like the gold, but it works and fits this mech, especially being a Zane mech. There are some weird gaps and holes, but they don't detract too much from the build in my opinion. So overall, just for the knees, this one is going to be a top 5. Now, entering our top 3, we have Jay's Titan mech. This one also has knees in case you were wondering, a huge plus, but I think what pushes this guy over Zane's Titan mech is the overall aesthetic. This mech has just such a cartoony anime look to it, combined with the super sleek build. This one's just very pleasing to the eyes. The color scheme with blue and white really contrasts a lot and makes this thing pop, and the big sword is also somewhat unique to large mechs at this scale. One thing that I don't like about this mech is the thing coming out of its head. I don't even know what to call it. I feel like if it was attached somewhere, it would have been a lot better, but as it stands, it gives the mech an interesting look. Anyway, starting off with our final two. At number 2, we have Nia Samurai X mech, the second one. This one is another ginormous mech, but it looks really nice. The giant head is unique, and I think it covers up the minifig pretty well. Other than that, the big X on the chest was well done, and I like how it looks. Again, this mech is another mech that has knees, so the posability is pretty good on this one. It definitely has a look that I really like as well. So, we have had 9 mechs to all build up to this moment. The number 1 Ninjago mech, which is Cole's Titan mech. This one's clearly the best mech in my opinion, just because it raises the bar so much for mechs in general. Along with being one of the best looking mechs with its bulky looks and black and white color scheme, this mech also takes the cake for the most posable Ninjago mech. This mech genuinely has posability that even humans don't have. Ankle articulation, knees, thigh rotation, hip rotation, waist rotation, wrist rotation, shoulder rotation, and 2 joints for the elbow. But not only is this mech super posable, it's also super stable, and the designers used the joints in super smart ways to make sure this guy isn't falling over anytime soon. I mean, just look at this. A deserving number 1. Anyway, that's it for this video. Check out my top 10 dragons and make sure to subscribe. See you in the next one.